only wants you to make good beer and have fun hanging out with your friends. Here's Dono. Today's episode brought to you with support from Northern Brewer. I've been buying my ingredients and supplies there for 23 years. I'm delighted to have them in support of the program. Check them out at northernbrewer.com. We are in the springtime and I thought a nice cream ale, cream lager would be a delicious beer for this time of year, but I also thought I've made it straight a few times. Why not do one small change of a variable? So what I'm going to do is use these pink hops. Formerly they had some code ID type thing. I have a couple ounces. It says citrus, stone fruit, honey, pine, apple. What about flavor? I guess right here it doesn't say a lot about flavor. I do see there's a flavor key and it says this. So basically we're just gonna see what happens. I'm doing the same grain, 8 pounds pills, mostly North Star pills, 2 pounds of flaked maize and 1 pound of rice. This is starting to tap out. And so that is a full kettle of wort. I'm gonna cover it up with a bunch of blankets. This is a Mosaic Pale Ale that I probably will do a video on. But yeah, here's these bad guys. Just 2 ounces. What's the alpha acid? Does not say. So I don't know what I'll do exactly, but maybe like half an ounce for bittering and then the rest at the end. The other thing I'm going to do is I have a decent amount of washed lager yeast, which I believe is Imperial Global. So I'm going to make a starter, and I am going to do a lager. It's May 5th, Cinco de Mayo. So it is a little warmer these days, but I'm going to try to keep it as cool as I can. And also, honestly, if it does get a little above the typical range for a lager strain, or for this lager strain, then I will see if I even notice any difference, because so many people have fermented lagers warmer, not even under pressure, and don't even notice any difference. So but I am going to try to keep it as cool as I can, maybe with a couple ice jugs, and that room is probably in like the mid to upper 50s now, so we'll see how that goes. I'll keep an eye on the temperature. Just about done for tonight, although later on tonight I am going to make the yeast starter, and then tomorrow do the boil and the rest. We've got the Giro going, the first Grand Tour bike ride of the season. Bike ride. Yeah, it's just a casual ride. I was going to do some of the pink hops for bittering, but then I remembered I had some of this left, Magnum. And this is a high alpha acid. High-ish. So I've got 10 grams, which is 1/3 of an ounce, a little more. So that is fine. That will work out for my bittering charge. Meanwhile, I've got 7 gallons of 11 bricks. So I'm boiling. This is what I do. I've got 2 pots going here, roughly a half gallon in each pot. And that will boil for the whole 45 minutes. And then I've got the other boil is out in the garage, which I need to go check on that. I had washed some Imperial Global yeast. I could actually do a shot of what that looks like in my jars, because I still have another jar or so in the fridge. But I made a starter last night, and this thing is looking like $1,000,000. That really nice milky tan color, which means the yeast are alive and well, and they have consumed the dry malt extract. Here we are. Garden is not yet much planted. I planted a couple things, but you know, that'll be coming up. Beautiful sunny day here. Let me turn off this radio and turn this off. Turn this off. Turn this off. So, it's been an hour, actually 64 minutes if you're counting. A little bonus boil today. Hopefully I will end with around 5 gallons, which normally this process of this double boil method when I have almost 7 gallons works out. Look at that beauteous action. Give it a little stir here. I went to Siebel Institute to learn how to do this. It's a advanced course. Anyway, I'll give this at least a good 15 minute stand, which will get some additional bitterness as well as hopefully flavor and aroma. I'm about ready to wrap this up. Aside from the cleanup, this is going to come in, it looks like in the mid 1050s, which I think is about what I got last time. And I'm a little under 5 gallons by a quarter or eighth of a gallon. The starter will bring it closer to 5 gallons. It's gonna have to do. It'll be fine. I like to get 5 gallons if I can, but maybe my boil on the stove was a little more efficient. But the starter is looking good and it's smelling good, so I have good hopes for this. I took a reading in my room of the temperature. It's 56 Fahrenheit, which is pretty good, but I've got ice jugs. That reminds me, I could show you one of these yeast wash jars. So here's the other one I didn't use. So this is a quart jar, and then I have that much yeast. Here's my thermometer for like a size comparison. So for the starter, I just used 1 quart jar and all of that yeast, and I feel like that should be sufficient. I came down here to get my camera to charge up the battery, and I thought I would just take a look, and this thing has already been bubbling. It's only been a couple hours. I mean, that's awesome, and a little bit of a surprise. I got a couple ice jugs to try to cool it down some, but you can see there's already some kreuzen. It's only down to about 60, so I mean, that's alright. Hopefully I can keep it a little bit cooler. I think it was like 62 or so when I pitched the yeast, but that thing's already going. Like if we do the video, we can do the video. Alright, there we be. It's a little, it is clear-ish. It's kind of humid. It's not crystal clear, but it also gets a little clearer when it warms up, a smidge. But it's gotten a little bit clearer in it's like what, June, what is it today? Like June
16. Happy Father's Day, Dono.
Cheers.
With neither of our kids in the immediate area. Shirking our responsibilities.
I'm not shirking anything.
Is that the word? As I said the word, I was like, is that the right word?
So, brewed May 6th. So not nearly as old as when we finally got around to drinking that Pilsner, which was months old and really clear and well aged. But with this beer, I didn't want to do that because the main experiment here and the variable is this pink hop. ID 158 was a previous name. I copied this in here for some reason, playfully referred to as the Ocho. 8, does Ocho mean 8? Is that correct? So maybe 158, like focusing on the 8? I don't know. So it was a different bittering charge, 10 grams of Magnum, so about 1/3 of an ounce. But then 2 ounces of the pink hops for a 15-minute hop stand. So they would give flavor, bitterness, and aroma at that point. And so there is a long list of descriptors that is either from the hop company or otherwise a couple of these things might be from people chiming in. And what do we think? What are some of your big takeaways? I put them in these glasses that you can get. This is an IPA glass, a Spiegelau crystal, because you can really like get in there and it funnels it, and you do better than those like 10-ounce no nick things I got.
No, as I was saying before we started rolling, I know this is kind of like a hop showcase project, but I honestly like this beer because of the other things, the lagerness of it. You've got corn, you've got rice, you've got pills, you've got global. We've been down this lager rabbit hole for the better part of 2 or 3 months, just like rice lagers and this and that, and I feel like it's just another chapter. It reminds me almost like Keller kind of beerish because it's not completely clear. It's got a little bit of body, I think, because of some of the haze, but you said it's 10-10, so it's not like a rich beer at all. But then those hops to me are very...
It was 1056 to 1010.
To me, the hops, if I had to like try to pinpoint, are stone fruity, very like inoffensive, apricot peach. I see honey in there, maybe like a honeydew, honey melon, but I feel like we've been saying this a lot lately too. I feel like a lot of new hops, whether they're new to the world or just new to us, they're not trying to be like the next flashbang hop of like tropical pine hit you over the head. A lot of these are kind of taking a more neutral, maybe it's the pendulum swinging the other way after having so many kind of over the top
Well,
hops.
I don't think this is neutral. I think that more neutral would be like German tradition
Sauce.
and pearl and you know whatever. Like this is an American style hop that's giving. I get some noticeable aromas and flavors. I mean, I kind of coming back to this like raspberry note, like raspberry, maybe the fruit, but also a raspberry candy, a Jolly Rancher, something that's sweet and tart. I also said sweet tarts, and then when you say that, your mind can go to like the citrus elements of grapefruit or maybe like a mandarin orange or something that is like sweet but also has an acidic edge.
Yeah, there's an orange peely kind of thing in there that's nice.
The descriptors, we can just kind of get into them. I wonder if I got onto the Jolly Rancher thing from this first one. Bubblegum. It also says resinous and pine, which we can talk about in a sec because I think there's elements of that. But then it has all these things. Green tea, grapefruit, mandarin. It says citrus and stone fruit. And those are sort of like different, you know? Like those are kind of different elements of the fruits. Subtle flavors of honey, apple, and vanilla. Another person chimed in, store wrote citrus, stone fruit, honey, pine, apple. I mentioned earlier like green apple, but again, more like a green apple candy, not like the defect that is described as green apple flavor, not that. So I think that it's a varied hop. Some of these hops, I think Mosaic is an example of one that does a fruitiness, but also a pininess.
Yeah.
And I think that the pininess could also maybe be part of like the bitterness of the grapefruit flavor, maybe. But let me tap another swig. I do like it. I made the cream ale / cream lager, which is delicious but somewhat neutral tasting beer, aside from maybe you almost might taste the corn.
This is almost like a Keller pale lager with a unique...
But it is more of like a pale ale than just like a not as hoppy lager that we all like a Helles or something.
It's a session IPL.
I guess.
In the forced way that we'll always compare something
to something else. It is kind of like a pale lager,
though.
That's not bad. I'm calling it pink cream because...
Pink cream.
Because pink hops and cream.
Pepto-Bismol.
Lager. Right. It tastes like Pepto-Bismol.
What's an interesting...
Do you like the pink hop? Do you think it's worth using on its own, do you think it would be even better in a blend? I feel like that could even be more complicated, confusing more flavors.
Yeah, I have a hard time wrapping my head around that. We talked about that at the unmapped thing, and I'm not able to wrap my head around the idea of combining hops. Clearly it works, because wonderful beers I have, you look at the can, you're like, there's 5 hops in here.
Right.
I don't really know much about how I would strategize layering hops, other than try it and see what happens.
As I keep drinking it, as it is almost getting gone now, and as it is warming, I think it is like a little more bitter, and I get more of like the grapefruit and the pine. So if you wanted to, like, maybe you wouldn't use this with Chinook. You know, maybe you would use it with another even more fruity, sweet hop, or more tropical fruit. You know what I mean? Like with the pine element.
Go with one of the more recent
I
modern.
don't know, it was fun. I don't remember if you tipped me off to this new hop or what. Like, maybe you did. Pink.
Oh yeah, just because
somebody mentioned it, and I was like,
started carrying that in Vista through Hollingberry, and I think that was the one that you thought sounded more interesting.
Maybe.
Than you were.
Oh, that reminds me. Thank you once again to Northern Brewer for supplying the ingredients for this batch.
And Imperial yeast, as always.
Actually, that was through Northern Brewer.
Oh, well, still Northern.
But we like Imperial yeast, and we appreciate the hookups that we do get directly from them. But Northern Brewer gave me all the stuff for this.
There's something else. Oh, crystal. When we had that rice lager at Falling Knife the other day, the crystal in that could be fun, because it would, maybe that would almost, it would double down on the orange, but that was a little more like, I can't,
subdued, I think.
Yeah, but they weren't using much of it. I think if you used a little bit more,
true, they were not.
With this, you might get like, oh, okay, now we're talking a little bit more layered, orangey citrus.
And that was a no boil hop edition beer either.
I was shocked to find that out.
Yeah. Well, anyway, this beer is drinking pretty nice. I hopefully have like a decent amount left. I haven't picked up the keg for a minute, but it's hot. It's coming up on 90 Fahrenheit and humid. Boo. It's a good Minnesota hot, yucky day. We are in the cold, dry basement where it's very pleasant.
Happy Father's Day to all you rad dads in the brew world.
Happy Father's Day. And
stepdads and caregivers and just grandpas who are badass.
That's true. And yeah, I mean, I don't know how many people have actually used this hop. If you have and you have any opinion, comment away. Otherwise, I appreciate the people that are watching, and don't comment. If you feel like you want to comment, I always appreciate that as well. But I did get a lot of comments on some of these recent videos, so I know y'all are out there keeping an eye on the channel. And anything that looks good, you give it a look-see. And I appreciate that. And until next time, we will meet again. Catch you later.
Catch you later.